My name is Karoki. I will not say my age, but you can extract my age from what I say about myself. So I've worked for 24 years. I started working in 2002. I've been in the financial services sector. So I started was what is called an insurance broker. Then I worked for Jubilee for 13 years. I did what we call retirement benefits life operations for the life company, corporate life, which is basically hii maisha tunapeananga group life covers for corporate institutions. But now I work for Old Mutual. I've been there for 4 years, I think 1 month. I work in the retirement benefits section. Love what I do. Love what I do. I wake up every day happy because I feel what I do aligns with what I believe in my faith. And it also helps me. I'm very big on helping people. So when I help people save for retirement, when I help corporates set up retirement funds, when I do financial education to my clients, I feel I've supported somebody become better in life, and I've supported families. So I love what I do. So I'm an employee benefits expert with a special emphasis on retirement benefits. I think that's how I describe myself. I'm in the phase in my life where I love corporate. I've worked in corporate. I don't know anything else. I don't think I'd be a very good business entrepreneur. That one I've pursued for myself and determined. But I'm in a space where I'm starting to work out. You know, retirement is not an age, it's a lifestyle, isn't it? Ama hamujui hiyo? Kuna wengine wananiangalia, eh? So I'm starting to work out what's my next phase in life. And I'm in that stage of transition. So a lot of queries, a lot of asking God. And this conversation we are having today, which I was asked was crisis and risk management. So I've tried to be as holistic as possible. Also relates to me a lot. Because I'm in a stage where, you know, when you have this thing you're holding, na unaachilia kushika nyingine, si ndio? There's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of what if I make the wrong choice? Will I be able to feed myself? Will I be able to support my parents? Will I be able to pay for my bills? Okay, a lot of my questions is money, but other things follow. You understand? Yeah, so there's a lot. So I'm hoping that today we can have just a basic conversation. Please keep me accountable. Let me know when I reach 10. I can speak the whole day. So ikifika 10 a.m. to pause so that you guys can go for your tea and have some. But as we start, I want us to do just basic exercise. Hopefully it's interactive. So please note, I will not be speaking. It shall be you speaking, not me. I'll just share with everyone. Hopefully, I know there'll be enough because I made like 40. Anybody without? So let's do a little exercise. And the gentleman who came without a pen, without a booklet, mwenzako akusaidie. Does everybody have a paper? So if I could kindly request, let me define for you what I think a crisis is an unexpected event. Kimefanyi? Kimetokeleze? Kimekuramba, yes. Then a risk is something that can happen. There's potential. There's an opportunity for something negative to happen. Okay? So let's give ourselves 2 minutes very quickly. I know you're sharp people. Kindly just note for yourself. If I look at my life, and I've tried to illustrate some areas, okay? but you're not limited. I've left space at the bottom for you to fill in areas you feel. In your personal life, in your social, whether at the university, home, and then as a country or as the world where we live in, what do you think are the types of crises that we are facing today? Okay? Or you think that are going to emerge soon? You're young people, so you guys know a lot more than we do. Then if you look at your risks, a risk is something that has a potential. So in your financial area, what are the risks that can come up? As an individual, you stand as somebody, isn't it? So what can happen to you in society to ruin your reputation? In terms of your spiritual and moral, what are the risks? The risk is the probability of something happening, isn't it? Or the likelihood. Okay? Na kama hakuna separation, zichanganye zote ni zako, si ndio? And then everyday life. Kuingia matatu, mugonge mtu wa boda. Kusmile na kijana, uende home for 9 months. That's a risk, isn't it? Yeah? Becoming a young father. Sorry, is it understood? It's not complex, yeah? Unaweza fungua roho kwa karatasi yako. All done?
I have a question.
Yes.
Family is part of social
Yes, you can add.
in the crisis.
Yes, you can add. You can add. I'd left space for you to add. I deliberately left out family to see whether people would build it in. So, na wale wa nyuma mnasaidiana. Kila mtu ako na vitu zake. We'll have time for sharing and discussion. Okay. Thank you. Maybe we can pause there and just so this is yours, and I think this session is to help us to marinate. We'll take things later, isn't it? And be able to review and marinate them. Happy to. So, as we start our discussion today, one of the key things we need to imagine is we're talking about crisis and risk management. Inaweza kuwa na kizungu mingi, theory mingi, but let's start with the issue of perspective. Does perspective matter in life?
Yes.
And what will color perspective? Your experience, isn't it? If you've not experienced something, say for example, mtu anaongea, alafu unafikiria mtu ako na maringo, ama anaongea sana. It's maybe because you've not been in a space where you've evolved with such people, isn't it? So perspective is very important. But I want to clarify that as we start, the one thing in my experience, and the one thing I'm sure about, and the one thing that is true, it may not apply for Muhammad, for Muhammad here. I'll use the names that you said because that's how I'll remember. That the word of God is never changing and does not fail, okay? So when you look at one side, you see a 6. When you look on the other side, you see a 9. And that's the reality of life, that life has very many challenges. And things will come at you. And depending on where you are at, someone said she's feeling like vitu vinachangingi kila asubuhi, si ndio? Or someone else is in, like for me, I'm in transition. But in this space where things are shifting or something has happened to you, what's the one thing that is true? The word of God does not change, and Jesus Christ remains the truth forever, isn't it? So perspective is important, but the reality is when you're thinking about crisis or managing risk or your situation in life, you have to have a template that does not shift. And for me, and I would suggest that you think about it for yourself, is that the more Kenya you have, the thing that you see life through, the tool that you use, all come from the Bible, okay? And for me, that is the reality, and that is the starting point of our conversation today. Perspectives shift, things are relative. And so the first assignment I want to give you is to read on something called postmodernism. So postmodernism is you do you. Postmodernism is what you feel is your reality. But is that true? And that is a challenge that a lot of Gen Zs, millennials are facing in reality in life because they've been brought up to think postmodernism is reality. So first assignment, perspective and postmodernism. So for me, we've already had a conversation around what crisis is. It's an event. So a crisis is something that has already happened or is going to happen or has happened, isn't it? And it never happens. It comes to destabilize your status quo or what you think is the situation. But for me, I keep saying, your perspective, again, using the Bible to sieve, and your attitude are very important. So the second thing, other than perspective and what is your perspective, is your attitude. Because your attitude should be to look for opportunities and not the challenges you find in any situation in terms of crisis. So a crisis is an event, and a risk is the potential of a harm happening. So when you combine the two, then it means it's the situation that you are in, isn't it? Or that is happening to somebody you know. It could not be happening to you, it could be happening to someone you know. So you'll notice that in my conversation today, I'm talking about leaders because my expectation or my understanding of all of you is that you're people who are going to who are standing out in your societies currently and expect to stand out in society in the future. So I'm speaking to you as leaders. I'm not speaking to you kama wananchi. Okay? So why does it matter how you understand what a crisis is, how you understand what a risk is, how your perspective is important, and how your attitude is important? It's because you need to anticipate. The first rule of any situation is you cannot sit in life and wait for things to happen. You have to be proactive. So in your life, have you ever sat down and thought about it? So if it's about money, do you have a budget? Yeah? If it's about equipping yourself to deal with relationship issues, have you been reading your Bible? You know? And doing a study? And talking to your older friends? If it's a situation on any, have you thought about it and what you need to do? And that speaks into preparation. So, Proverbs 22 says, a prudent man sees danger and takes, but the simple keep going and pay for the penalty. So, at this point, allow me to, I'll give you freedom. I'll ask for any 4 people to share from what they saved in terms of, you're not limited to sharing everything, but you can share from a crisis, an opportunity, a risk that you wrote down. Happy to hear from any of you. Quickly. Any person who would like to share what they had put in any of the categories. Star, tuanzishe.
I'm going to go with the financials. I don't know where it is there.
No, it's okay.
It is there. I think one risk that we go financially, everything, money is everything, or as they say. So something about this is auctioneers. When the risk when you take loan and then they come and take everything that you had, especially if now you are used to a certain kind of lifestyle. And I think that happened to us as a family. And I have that fear for loans because I saw what it did. So I think that's a risk. So I'd rather live below my means.
Okay.
So if I don't have, I don't have.
Okay.
Because I know the risk that comes with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a very good example. Allow me to just, before the next person shares. So you've said the reality is you saw auctioneers, isn't it? So you know a loan is a challenge. And so if you take a loan, you're fearful of loans. So your challenge is going to be, in my space, how a loan is, understanding that a loan is not necessarily a good, there's a bad loan and a good loan, isn't it? So your challenge is going to be differentiate what is a good debt and a bad debt. And how then do you plan, if you take a loan, to manage the risks associated with the loan, isn't it? But she also said something very important. Who had her say living below your means?
Yes.
So that's a preventative measure, isn't it? Yes. It's planning ahead. It's a mitigation measure, isn't it? So thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Mnajua msiponiongelesha chai yenu itakuja saa 5. Ehe.
I'd like to share on reputation.
Volume kidogo kwa wenzako.
I'd like to share on reputation.
Reputation, yes.
One of the risks that I fear, I think would greatly affect my reputation, is maybe ending up in jail.
Ending up in jail.
I expound.
Yes, please.
So, from the way I think people know me, those people around me, and from the start we come in from, ending up in jail is not a good thing, because for whatever reason you end up there, the outside world views you as an outlier, criminal, So your reputation, maybe people believe you stand for something, or maybe people have known you in a particular way, and the moment you are arrested, how they see you, or rather how they perceive you, changes entirely.
Okay. Have you heard him?
Yeah.
So do you want to add on reputation, or do I comment on him and then we come to you?
I also want to do repetition.
You want to add on reputation? Please go ahead.
Yeah. This is based on an event that happened to me.
Uh-huh.
Reputation is when people lose trust in me. People were supposed to be trusting me, lose trust in me. An example is when I was the vice president of my school's legal aid club. There's a scandal that came up. One of the people in my team stole money. Now it became that everyone, including me,
Had stolen.
had stolen the money and had never even seen the money. So it came to a place where now people would look at you sideways. They're like, now, unaibanga pesa.
Oh.
Yeah. So they lack trust in you. So they can't ever give you funds, or can't ever give you such a project to run again. Yes.
Okay. So the risk already happened. The crisis already happened. There was a theft, isn't it? Your crisis is jail, isn't it? So what's the risk there? The risk is the likelihood that you could go to jail or people could not trust, isn't it? So the first thing you learn is that your name and your reputation are things that you should safeguard, isn't it? And the Bible is very clear about reputation and a man of reputation. So then what does that mean for you? You need to be very aware of the things you cannot associate yourself, isn't it? And be very clear. And I know there's peer pressure in campus. So what does that mean? There are places you cannot go because they'll place you in a position to do certain things or at risk of being in certain situations, isn't it? So you may look foolish, and sometimes the Bible says the things of God will look foolish to the world. But what does God do? He honors you, isn't it? So what they're speaking about in terms of reputation is that you yourself are a brand. So assignment number 2, how do you protect the brand that is you? And how do you grow the brand because it's a real marketing thing. How many of you are doing marketing or associated business admin courses or have done? It's a real thing, isn't it? Just like Unilever grows Colgate and their advertisement, how you present yourself, how you show up to the world is a key fund. And that's in the personal space, isn't it? It also relates to your family. Someone else in your family could be doing things. I had a cousin who was a drug addict. My God. You live with that person in your house every day. Na navuruga community mzima. That's your reputation, isn't it? So how do you then manage such situations? Okay, anybody else would like to share before we move on? Yes, thank you.
On the personal crisis,
Uh-huh.
I personally have been trying to mitigate lack of consistency in me. Yeah.
Habits.
Yeah.
That's a nice one.
Consistency. Yeah.
Okay. So he's shared. Have you heard what he said? Being consistent in his life. Habits. Okay. So you roho inataka, mwili haitaki, si ndio? What does that mean? Again, you go back to the issue of postmodernism. Feelings don't matter. Doing what needs to be done at that point is the most important thing. So then you tell yourself, what is the likelihood I'll not finish my assignments on time? I won't do, if you needed to do your laundry, wakati jua imetokezea na uko hapo kazi yako tu ni you're gaming or you're doing Netflix, you won't get your laundry done, isn't it? So kesho yake unang'ang'ana na baridi na mvua. Or you're rewinding clothes and the people sitting next to you in the lecture hall are wondering, huyu alilala kwa mtaro. So the question is, do your feelings matter at that point when you need to do something? Other than love? No, isn't it? So the question is, what then do you do for yourself? What do then you do? Understand yourself, isn't it? Understand your character and your personality. How many of you know what kind of a person you are? Whether you're more productive in the morning or in the evening. That's a personal issue of managing yourself. How many of you understand that you need to balance your day? How many of you work with a timetable and a schedule? Ama ni ile ikitokezea ndio tunaenda nayo? How many of you use, your phones have calendars? How many of you diarize the things you need to do? Or wake up on a Sunday night and plan from Monday to Saturday? Ama ni ukiamka leo ile inaenda ndio tunaenda nayo? So everyday life has basic things, my friend. Waking up in the morning and saying, I will do 1, 2, 3 today, if nothing else. That's a management tool, isn't it? So when we're discussing risk, and it's not very far from our everyday life. So I'll skip this. I think we've had a conversation around this and just have a talk. So when we talk about risk as a person, risk is not necessarily a bad thing. We said, what is risk? It's a potential for something, isn't it? But risk is not, we've been thinking about it like a negative thing, but let me now switch a little bit and say it's not necessarily a bad thing. So what you see, if you need to do something, you need to calculate, isn't it? She talked about a loan. You cannot be reckless about risk. If you need to cross the road, mnaangalianga gari, si ndio? The speed at which you cross that road is determined at how you see that car. You cannot stroll when that car is, when it's a trailer, si ndio? Lakini ukiona hizi Uber tunachukuanga, sometimes you can stroll, unajua utamanage. But when it's a, hizo trailers zinapitanga zikienda inda, can you stroll across the road? Hiyo kitu kipita na utabaki. So you've calculated your risk, isn't it? So the same thing about life. In everything that you do, you need to be able to have a calculated approach to everything. Risk will happen. Things will happen. But are you calculated? The other thing, and this is especially related with finances, there's a reward balance. The higher the risk, the higher the loss also. So if you're saving, or you're borrowing, or you're getting into a relationship, or you're refusing to read your Bible, whatever situation it is, the higher the risk there, higher the reward, and also the potential for loss. So the question I ask, why would you take a mobile loan when you can have help? You've not calculated your risk, isn't it? Or the potential for loss. Can you wait 4 months to save up money instead of taking a phone now from lipa mdogo mdogo? You'll miss social media for 4 months, but it's not the death of you. I can see some of you wondering, yeah? Assignment number 3. Please take one weekend, Friday evening, toka 9 p.m. Put your phone in a drawer and walk away from it and pick it up on Sunday afternoon. This is an assignment. It is your choice to do it or. So, find out what will happen to you and then do it repeatedly for 3 weekends in a row.
Sunday.
Friday, 9 p.m., Sunday, 6 p.m. Okay? Just to tell you what you need to do. So there's also the factor that you need courage to be able to face your situations. Reality is not pretty all the time. Escapism and avoidance will not get you to a place where you can assess your situation and be able to understand how to handle your situation. And then, because you're young people, innovation is a key factor. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and getting the same results. So you need to be innovative about the way you deal with your situations. You learn. For us, what happens is you learn from your parents and people who are older than you, isn't it? But then what is your responsibility after you've had someone does something a certain way or has shown you the way? Improve on it, and that is where innovation comes in. So someone did mention Nehemiah, and I'm very happy about that. So we'll read about Nehemiah after we've gone through the session together. So allow me to very quickly just go about sorry. So when you have a crisis, the first thing you do is, before the crisis, you try and prevent it, isn't it? So if you don't want to run out of your money, what do you need to prevent that? You need to have a budget, isn't it? If you're dating somebody, it's not just about the coffee. What do you need to do? You need to understand, why am I here? And what do I want out of this relationship, isn't it? And what are my boundaries? What are my must have, not have? The second thing is, if something happens, the shorter your response, the better the outcome, isn't it? The longer you wait, the worse the situation. Whatever it is. Mkikosana na mtu, usinyamazie mtu wiki nzima. Kila mtu ako na mafikira za. Of course, take time to breathe in, breathe out, because immediate response does not help. Sometimes you say things that are not edifying. Hazijengi, si mwanadamu na si Roho Mtakatifu, si ndio? So, being able to respond, being able to mobilize. And mobilization is all about resources. How many resources do you have? Your first and most important resource is people and your networks. Family, friends, your mentor, your lecturers, leaders, people you know. The second is, if it's a financial situation, the same, this network also comes through for you. Okay? God is one of your greatest resources and your rock and foundation. Okay? Then recovery. Recovery is everything about, someone talked about reputation. You have to have a strategy on how you rebuild trust or get back from ile shimo imechimbwa. If it's financial, how then do you recover? If it's reputation, how then do you recover? If it's a relationship, how then do you recover? And then from that, there's always growth. You know how God works, and I can testify in my life. We come to a situation, and then round, and then I get out of it. I swear, if I do not learn the lesson, kirudiwo kita? Yes, and that's the reality of life. Additionally, you're not able to understand yourself and manage yourself better. And the better person is the experienced person who has reviewed and understood, why did I go through that hardship? Why did I go through that relationship? Why did I go through that situation? So the key thing is then you come out, you have something called growth. Yes, my friend.
On the first stage of prevention,
Yes.
which you clarified, it is the first stage after crisis.
Before crisis, most likely before, but also after.
Yes, now before crisis.
Uh-huh.
And not, for example, like now the case we had with the corona, you guys are not really prepared for that. And now it became a whole crisis. Maybe to just share another one, you're just going home, just strolling in the streets, and then someone just comes and grabs your neck. And then now you have to give them everything. So in as much as you would have prevented anything, by the time you're thinking of how you would have prevented, they haven't taken what you wanted to take.
That's a risk, unforeseen event.
You said something about crisis.
Mm.
Ama sijui ndio sikuelewa. That is, it's an unexpected event.
I think what our brother is trying to ask is that
What can you do?
response, I guess, should be the first stage because you'll be able to know how to handle it the next time.
Yes. So, some of them you can't prevent. Someone attacking you na kukubeba, ukibebwa kama pale tao unavuka, wale vijana wanakujanga 7, unainuliwa juu, by the time umeangushwa chini, mifuko iko inside out, huna sweater, viatu zimeenda, phone imeenda, si ndio? You may not be able to prevent it. So then you go to the issue of recovery and growth. First, you need to recover what you lost. Secondly, the learning point. So sometimes if it was in the evening, you're like, nilikuwa natoka kampo, I should just have fare in my pocket. Simu, again, that's why I told you to do your exercise. I can leave my phone. If I'm going to walk somewhere and I know ni usiku giza, I'll leave my phone wherever I'm living because I don't need my phone. I'm able to survive without my phone. So, you see that attachment to your phone? Ndio reason umeinuliwa tao. But you have a point. There are some things in life that you can't prevent. So let me use the most hard one, death or illness, isn't it? Some of those things are unexplainable. They are called the things of God. They are mysteries that only God knows. So I'll give my example of myself. I was diagnosed as type 2 diabetic in 2021. Pretty healthy, had no symptoms, was going about my life. So I went for an annual checkup. I'm one of those people who does an annual checkup. I'm lucky enough, my insurance pays for it. So I walked out with a diagnosis for type 2 diabetes. That was 3.5 years ago. No, actually 3 years ago, August 2021. 4, okay. So, there's nothing I could have done about it, isn't it? At that point, Sindio. But do you realize something like diabetes is preventable? So immediately I was diagnosed. I was lucky enough I joined a class that is called Diabetes Reversal Management. And in that class I learned that I was in the stage of pre-diabetic for over 15 years. And I could have prevented becoming a full type 2 diabetic. I learned that carbohydrates are not your friend. There should be the smallest portion, less than a palmful in your diet, every meal you eat. Yes, watu wa kutwanga ugali inatoshana na mlima. I learned that fat is your friend. Butter, avocado, fatty meat, history lean meat. I learned that calories don't count. The grams of carbohydrate in your food is what counts. I learned that beans are 80% carbohydrates. See, proteins, they are called grains for a reason, nafaka. I learned that fruit, there are different kinds of fruits, and fruits have 70 to 80% sugar in them. So, and I learned that the problem, so later, after I started reading, I'm the kind of person who reads everything. I read around 200 books a year. So I read a lot. So I was like, I need to understand this thing. I started learning that things like dementia and Alzheimer's is sugar in the brain. I learned autism is sugar in children. So, going back to your situation, answering your question from a personal perspective, at the point where I was given my diagnosis, I couldn't prevent it. But where I sit right now, I've changed the way I live my life and the way I eat. Because what do I want to do? I want to stop taking drugs, because those drugs also cause long-term illnesses. Liver damage, Alzheimer's, dementia in your older years because of long-term use of those drugs. So I want to be able naturally to manage. I can't go back to being normal like any normal person, but I want to go back to managing my sugar to a normal level. Every morning when I take my blood sugar, it should be normal, but without taking drugs, and that's called diabetes reversal. I'll still be a diabetic, but I live a normal life, as close to a normal life as without drugs. So that is now risk management and mitigation. So there are some you can't take, there are some you can't change. So very quickly, so that I'm a respecter of your time, Scripture says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Aki nyinyi, mnasomanga Biblia? Nope. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean on at your own understanding. In all ways acknowledge the Lord and he will make your paths. That's Proverbs 3:5-6. So for me, it's very key that I anchor my decision in the principles of Christ. And so if you study the word of God, and for me, this is how I look at life. God, okay? Everything else fits into that space. And a lot of us have tuko hapa, and then you have school, you have your friends. I'll give you feedback from somebody who's almost actually I'm over 2 times your age. Everything in life, yeah. Huh? You're not 30, my friend. I'm got 22, 23. So, everything should fit into the space of God. And the way you make your principles and your rules for life to manage, so that then you don't have extreme outcomes in risks and crises, is by having a mwakenya, or a framework that is created by the Bible. Then the second is being trustworthy and integrity, and I think we discussed it. The issue of how then do you make sure that you're in a position where when people view you, and that is basically based on your history, based on how you act, when you speak, do you then fulfill that? And he will know that, isn't it? Your word is your bond, isn't it? What you say should be the truth. Then it should come out very clearly in your aspect. So, integrity is the third aspect. And it's very hard to be integrity. And how do you test yourself? When no one's looking, do you do the right thing? Because you can't be doing things for ukisimama mbele ya watu. When you're alone in the house, do you pick your nose? Can you pick it in public? We'll talk about habits later. But the things you do, isn't it? Yeah? Do you take shortcuts? And I know as a Kenyan society, we have a problem with that, isn't it? But do you call yourself to a higher standard of living and a certain way and respect yourself? It's all about self. So let me ask you, you know God is always with you. That's the other thing we forget. Because in our lives, God amekuwa friend. There's no fear of the Lord. And the fear of the Lord is not shaking in fear. The fear of the Lord is an interpretation of you love him so much that you would not want to offend him. That is the fear of the Lord. So the question is, what's your empathy? The crisis and the risk may not happen to you. It will happen to someone in your life, isn't it? As you age, and I've gone through it for the last 15 years, your friends will start having parents who become critically and terminally ill. Or they will lose them, or you yourself will go through the same. How do you manage that? Do you show up for those people? Are there people who show up for you? And that's social capital, and it's one of the most integral and most important capitals you can build for yourself as an individual. Build it intentionally and with show up for other people so that they can show up for you. In Africa, we live in community, we don't live in individuals. And let me say that again. In Africa, and as a community, we live in community. There's very little I. It doesn't mean that you give yourself and nothing is left of you. You live your life. But you live your life also within the aspect of community. Are you able to be someone's foundation and rock when they are being tossed around by life? And you cannot be someone's rock and foundation if you have nothing yourself. Sindio? So if you're not in a space to have, you think of yourself as a vessel. If you don't infill yourself, do you have anything to overflow to anyone? You're just empty, isn't it? So ukinamisha hiyo chungu hakuna kitu inatoka, ni hewa tu, si ndio? So make sure that you feel yourself and you build yourself so that you're able to create empathy for others. Collaboration. You guys live in community. Okay? So build your resilience and courage, be a visionary thinker, and have collaboration. I'll not dwell on this, please. These are things that you know. Managing, very practical. By the way, these things work even in personal life. They're not just corporate things. So learn how to use a SWOT analysis. Learn how to do scenario planning. And by the way, some of these are on the go. Uko ushago, mtu wa boda hajakuja, ni 15 kilometers, uko na gunia ya mahindi. Scenario planning, very quickly. Option 1, option 2, option 3 in your head. And you choose the best one, isn't it? You've managed a situation. Crisis simulations. And this, he talked about COVID. Do you know that in 1979, Pfizer and very many other institutions already had crisis simulations for the COVID-19 virus. It existed then. It was just released to kill half the world population, but they didn't manage it. So crisis simulation is very ethical decision framework. We've talked about people of integrity, people of God, isn't it? So if you have to think in advance, what are my parameters for operating in, and how do I then work? Homework number 5, yeah? Create a personal risk register. Understand yourself. And by the way, when you create things, budgets, anything, they're not static. They have to be reevaluated, isn't it? We are people who grow and change, yeah? So make sure you do this. Yes? Uh-huh. Not really. So the way I would look at it is scenario planning. You do what if you create like set scenarios, yeah? But in crisis simulation, sometimes you do them, they are more like practical. Even if your theory. So for example, you say, we've had a road accident, someone has been hit. So a crisis simulation, you physically like sometimes go even on the road. What does it mean? So a scenario planning is very theoretical. A crisis simulation would be more like a practical extension of a scenario planning. They may be similar, but not exactly. Because when you do theory, there are unforeseen events, like a traffic jam, you understand? Like it could be perfect. But if you do like a scenario planning, you just You're on the road, then you walk, then you meet a traffic jam. That was something that was unforeseen. You understand? How do we get around the traffic jam to get this person to hospital quicker? So they're different. So, sorry?
No, it's okay. So I'm now trying to understand.
Maybe what we could do is you could look at what specifically do they mean?
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, I'm playing.
Internalize.
Yeah, I'm internalizing.
Okay, that's very good. So, allow me to quickly just say that you have internal requirements and external requirements in terms of, I'll share this presentation to be shared with you in terms of application. So there are certain aspects of yourself that you need to understand. Your self-awareness, grow your ability to critically think. Look at yourself and say, how do I build resilience and adaptability? I have many mottos, but one of the things I hold to life, and this was from observation and just understanding, is, Christine, you have to have a teachable spirit and a flexible mind the more older you grow. And do you know what happens as you grow? You become set in your ways and you think you know. You understand? Because you have experience. But I challenge myself on a regular basis to have a teachable spirit and a flexible mind. So your resilience and adaptability is very important in life, because you will meet certain situations in life. And especially when you start working, you will meet difficult people. You will meet people who will sabotage you. You need to critically think, how do I manage this situation? And then you have to have a value-driven life, not just about leadership. If you do not have any values, anything that comes along is applicable to you. And you're like a wave tossed in the ocean. You have no place. So set your anchor by giving yourself values. So what are the issues about crisis management, risk, or even your personal life that are very important externally? Because we live in community, you have to have effective communication. We've talked about collaboration and friendship, mentorship and learning from others, being empathetic and having social responsibility. Sometimes you may observe something happening. You are not supposed to keep quiet. You may need to find a nice way to approach it, but you're not supposed to keep quiet, because that's how evil prevails. And then we have a responsibility to create platforms for others. And this is legacy. The people who come after us, or even for our friends, to be able to enable them. So the two of them interlock and allow the growth of a person. So as we close, I want to go through the issue of Nehemiah. Someone did talk about COVID-19, yeah? And campus, si munarushanga mawe? Mi when I was in campus, watu walirusha mawe. So in my year, we were chased around for Karura Forest, which I see now has issues also. Uhuru Park, Moi had decided to build a parking silo there. Tulikunywa tear gas kidogo because of that. And of course, Article 2.1, which is the multi-party. Kenya used to be a single. Sabasamba ndio sisi. So, allow me to close by looking at the story of Nehemiah. So, Nehemiah built a temple. Before, I think I'd forgotten something. Can we take 10 minutes? Yes. Please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. How many are we? Okay, into groups of twos. I'll just give you a scenario, okay? Into groups of twos. I don't know who you'll join, my friend. That's your scenario. I don't know whether there'll be enough. So I want you to very quickly, in 2 minutes, look at your scenario. It's supposed to be 10 minutes, but our timeline will be... Oh, you can join him. Join him at the back. Hey. Watu wa backbench. The three of you can do this. Who's willing to give up? I'm going to break up some groups. Oh, I know what I'll do. Ha ha. Have you looked at your scenario? Eh? Are you clear? I want to give your task to somebody else huko nyuma. I've run out of papers. Or do you want to take a photo? Please, take a photo. I want to give your scenario to someone at the back. Thank you. Hey, when into my selfie too. Thank you. Okay. Who didn't have? Okay. So them, and then at the back, thank you. So very quickly have a look at your scenario. I'd just like, very, very quickly, what is your response to that risk? It will be a verbal comment because of time, but I'm sharing additional scenarios. My friend, sioni kama munaongeleshana. Hiyo ni kuni manage. Are you sure you guys will have something to tell me? Huh? I don't see people talking to each other. Verbal, very quick report. Okay. Conversation stops in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you for... I know the time is short. It was supposed to be like 15 minutes. Lakini nimesikia nisipowapatia chai soon, kutakuwa na riots, eh? Okay, so who was handling fire in a dormitory or a hostel? Who had fire? Ni nyinyi? Aya, share. He will share. Hey.
Immediate steps. You said, for example, we'll assemble, and then the fire extinguishers we help students.
Volume, my friend.
Niongee pole pole.
Sijidhani wanakusikia. Mnamsikia? Aha. Paza sauti.
First of all, assemble students watoke pale wametoka, for example, kama domi imechomeka tutawatoa. And then we'll help kuzima moto. And then after that, accommodation. Accommodation tumesema there is extra mattress. Walale kwa halls.
Halls utatoa wapi?
The school, like dining hall.
Dining halls.
Kama shule yetu kuna...
Okay, temporary.
Yeah. As they...
Okay.
Recovery tumesema...
Oh.
3 days to recover.
So you're talking about helping them process the event, isn't it? People need to talk about it. Okay. Looking at the future, will you have a review of why the fire happened?
Yes.
Yeah?
Maybe it's okay.
Because if they had fire escape, fire extinguishers, isn't it? Kulikuwa na hose ile ya kuzima maji, si ndio? Na pengine shule ilikuwa na maji, si ndio? Okay.
Do fire drills.
Fire drills, good, so that people don't get hurt in the event of a fire. Thank you. Cyberbullying? Nini? Okay.
Okay. For how you address it, after like the students amekuwa in that situation, like you educate them on how they can use social media in a more secure way.
Yes.
And they be mindful of whatever, like probably they post on their accounts. For their mental health, probably they seek therapy. Yeah.
Okay. What about engaging the online platform to have community protection?
Yeah. Educating them.
Okay, have you heard him? The backbenchers. Which one did you have? Yes. Power blackout. Please share with us.
So for us, if there was power blackout in the campus and the exams are near, I think the best thing to do is enter into group discussions. And see, my counterpart here was telling me, when you're having a group discussion, you're supposed to look at one another. And I told her, it's not a must. The content is what is important.
For power blackout.
You can just discuss and understand. So
that was your contribution.
Yeah.
Anything else on power blackout? Candles. Hapo ndio pesa yetu imetufikisha. It's very important. She talked about living within your means. Sorry? Okay. So, I don't know whether you've ever dealt with people from northern Kenya. Those children do all their work before darkness sets in. That's a mitigation measure. Usitoke shule kabla hujafanya homework yako, isn't it? Because when you're dealing with somebody, say for example, this is your friend, How do you explain to them? You don't have the resources to give them electricity, to connect electricity for them, isn't it? So unaketi na yeye mnafanya homework before 6 p.m., isn't it? Or assignments. So I think the whole idea is to be able to see in that situation what is immediately possible, but also going forward, what can we do in terms of that situation. And sometimes these situations are not, I gave you these scenarios so that you can look at current, but if you look at it in your own life, there are very many situations we come up with, isn't it? So usually the first thing is, the scripture says, what do you have in your hand? And what can you use on it? And how can you apply it? And then you go after growth, isn't it? Sasa watu wanataka, you've seen those things for 500 bob, you put it in the sun, jioni inawaka, si ndio? Us guys use them in shags a lot. Because it's what's available. Si ndio? Alafu asubuhi ukisahau hiyo usiku mamako atanena, and ushakemewa kwa giza. Mumeketi kwa giza na unakemewa kwa giza. Kwa ulisahau kutoa taa nje ipate mwangaza wa jua muweze kuona jioni, si ndio? Okay. Who's handling mental health breakdown? Thank you. Please share.
So discussion is like it's important to also know like how they feel when they do that, and also like talking them through not doing that and reciprocating with something positive, and also teaching them on the importance of self-awareness and self-acceptance, and then later they can self-resolute.
Okay.
Yeah, that way when you accepted the situation and be able to make something out of it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything to add? Okay. Thank you so much. So do you realize the place of empathy when you're dealing with someone a situation like a mental breakdown? So I have a friend who was diagnosed. Okay, I have quite a number I know, but the first time I came across someone who was bipolar was in one of our Bible study discussion groups like 8 years ago. So I didn't understand it, and it took me 4 years to understand that person and build empathy for them. So one of the very biggest things I struggled with was not understanding, kuna siku mnakuanga down, si ndio? Na una struggle, lakini utaamka uoge na utoke kitanda, si ndio? Somehow, hata kama utatoka nyumba. So people who struggle with mental disorders like bipolar can't even that person can be in a bed for 2 weeks. Ukifungua hiyo room, ile harufu iko hapo. So understanding and empathy towards that person. When you have someone who has a drug addiction or is stealing, you understand? Or you have a roommate in campus who just destroys things. The first response is to hit back at that person or to ignore that person. That's your crisis, isn't it? But is it the best way to manage that situation? So it's very, very hard to build empathy and to try and put yourself in someone's shoes and try and understand this person. But that's what you're called to do. Because if you cannot see what's happening remember we talked about perspective, in the other person's place, then you have a challenge. And you may not be able, because life gives you different situations. And how you deal with those different situations is very attitude, we said, perspective, but also the ability to look at the other person's thing and be able to understand what they're going through. Okay. Who's dealing with student protest? Mandamano,
So first of all, we have to acknowledge the situation,
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge the grievance of the students,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other measure that we discussed is to open a dialogue together with the student representatives and the administration.
Mm-hmm.
In this, you enhance a peaceful talk. And then another thing is to seek a third party, a mediator.
Okay, someone to help the two of you, Cindy, who's not from either side. That's very good. Who's dealing with a flooded campus?
For us, first thing we'll do is ensure everyone's safety.
Uh-huh.
Because if you have a roommate, you see whether you found them or not. If they're not around like that, you report to the campus authorities. Again, we contact their parents to maybe come get them or send fare to go home. And then for us to continue with schooling, we could switch to online so that everybody gets a chance to still continue with school. Um, yeah.
Okay.
And maybe we could check on the reason as to why the floods happened, and then if it's a structural problem, you can
Fix it.
fix it. Yeah.
Okay. What haven't we covered? We've done student project, blackout, health outbreak. Nani wako na ugonjwa?
So it's cholera. So first of all, cholera is communicable. So you start by identifying the particular hostels where it has emerged from, and then the students they get secluded and they go for checkups. Then for the rest of them, you identify ways like of maintaining hygiene, including washing hands and stuff.
Okay. Perfect. Future?
Then from that, it's okay. From what she said, after you taught them or rather sensitized them on hygiene, and afterwards, because you don't want such an outbreak to happen, you ensure that there are rules, regulations set in place so that all students within the hostels are able to always maintain hygiene, so that in future there's no such, and also have like a health personnel who comes to train on such.
Okay. So watu wamama wa chapati wa KM na klabu waoshe meza zao. Okay, examination leak? Yes.
So my brother will begin.
So we try to look at it from two perspectives, the students and the examiners, or the ones who said it. And so there are three major risks here. Reputational, ukikosa kucheat, basi watafilaji, ukicheat pia morally, how do you then reputational, the moral aspect, and then every day your habits, like
how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yes.
So in as much as it's every day, we are thinking of the future. If this is how what we would do, then that is what we will always
You cheat throughout. Yes. Okay. Wamekubali kucheat throughout.
So now on the crisis aspect, it's more on the student. So on a personal level, you look at the principles and the values and that idea of being intentional with their own studies. So it brings the student to a crisis whereby can they trust their own
understanding
with what they have been doing, if they have been intentional with their own studies. Then there's also the social aspect, the pressure from their fellow students in terms of cheating, because it will also compromise their own values and principles. So then there's the core leadership qualities in that crisis. There's the faith-based values, the integrity from the school administration as well as the student. Then there's the courage to say no. It's also courageous to cheat also.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, but it's now that's the crisis, right?
Yeah.
So, and then there's also the vision thinking. We cheat or we
don't cheat.
We don't cheat.
To cheat or not to cheat.
Yes, exactly. Now, now we're talking about the decision. How do you balance the honesty? So, I know that I'm supposed to be reading. It is for my own benefit.
Yes.
It's for my own future. If I'll be cheating, how it will be detrimental to the, like for example, if I'm cheating in university, it will be detrimental to the industry I'm going to work to. There will be a disaster. For example, if I'm doing civil engineering and I cheat.
Utajenga bridge haina wire.
So it goes a disaster to everywhere. So there's that. Then there's that pressure to cheat, because as I've said, if I'm not courageous to say no, then I'll not be courageous to stand for the things that I believe in future.
And the things that are right.
That are right, yes.
Yes.
And then fairness. So it is fair for somebody, okay, James 2:17, faith without action is dead. you've already done the action, so you should just believe that God is fair enough to reward you with success if you put in the work.
Okay. Yao ilikuwa ngumu? Okay. Thank you very much. You've done excellent. Drought. Well, have we done drought and food shortage? Who's drought and food shortage? Ni nyinyi? Haya, tuambie mtatufeed aje.
Maybe I can read the scenario. Prolonged drought increases food prices and some students struggle to eat. So the idea is there's no money for some students to buy food. And then the impact is that hunger and stress affect learning. So I'll share my part and then Philip will share the rest. So I decided to go with stage number 2 of response. And the first one would to mobilize other students who can be able to at least afford this food, to donate for those who don't have food, and to also maybe changa for some to also buy food, and then to also write proposals to organizations that offer this type of help to students and other places where they can be able to provide food as you continue learning. And another thing was to reduce the amount of hours of studying so that guys don't die while trying to
understand.
Yes, a funny one is to improvise the belt system where guys can be able to cover their belt so that they can be able to hold the small
watu wakaze mishipi. Okay, Philip.
Another one also, you can liaise with there are places where there is so much food and it's getting spoiled just because they don't have access to the market. So you can liaise with those mashinani wakulimas and transport food to nearby campuses. And also you can use instead of giving them fish, you give them the fishing rod.
Yes, long-term solution. Yes. Okay, thank you for that. I think there's a group that hasn't talked about leadership scandal. Yes. Please share with us so that we can close.
Okay, for our case, it's a student leader who is accused of misusing their funds. So first is for the student leader to write a memo to students telling them how their funds were used, and also provide the figures and all that. So first is to write a memo communicating what's happening around. And the second thing is involve the students in a dialogue, whereby the students can now air the issues and say what's going on, because it's someone who is accused. So they should come in a space and have a conversation with them, listen to their perspectives and revolving with this. And also, that's when you now gather the feedback and then you compile and come up with the best solution for that case. And if possible, the leader can find a way to maybe resign or something, because if the students don't want you anymore, then they can find the best solution for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
No.
Okay, so do you think there is a place for someone independent to come and give a report on the finances and say, I have looked, that's an audit, I have looked at the books and no money has been stolen? Do you think it would be more believable?
Absolutely, they can involve an independent person.
Thank you. Okay. So in conclusion, allow me to read Nehemiah's story and just close on it. So I went and Googled. This is Google, I Googled because I read the Bible, Ezra, I couldn't put the timelines together. So allow me to put, 445 years before Christ, Nehemiah was serving in the king's palace, isn't it? And he was a cupbearer. So he heard that Jerusalem was in ruin. So what did he do? He prayed for months. Okay? And then in 400, in the same year, he goes to the king Artaxerxes and asks to rebuild Jerusalem. Okay? Then he arrives in Jerusalem and he surveys the damage. So he's had, then it takes time to pray, isn't it? Then he goes and asks for permission, and then he travels. It takes like 8 months to travel. Then the reconstruction of the walls for Jerusalem begins. But while they're doing that, the governor of that area is opposing him, okay? After opposition from the guys who are not Jews, the Jews themselves fall into crisis. Wameanza kuzoza amongst themselves. And then the wall is completed in 52 days from when it was started. And when the wall was completed, Ezra, if you read the book of Ezra, there was a spiritual revival. Ezra was a prophet, he was a scribe. And then there was a public reading of the law, which means that law was not known. So you're being refreshed, isn't it? Vile mulikuwa hamjui, you're being refreshed. So immediately after the law was read, the wall is completed. There's a spiritual revival through Ezra. There's a public reading of the law of God. And then there's a national confession and a renewal of their hearts through a covenant to rededicate themselves to God. Then after that, Nehemiah goes back to Persia to serve again under King Artaxerxes as his cupbearer. Then, like 10 years later, Nehemiah goes back to Jerusalem to correct the spiritual decay. So what that basically tells us is, so you see that the people, you'll find opposition. Then amongst yourselves, there's a possibility of kuzozana. Then you correct yourself. Then if there's no governance, whatever was set will decay, isn't it? So the first thing that we see about Nehemiah is that he's strategic in the way he thinks. After he learns about something, hakimbiangi anapanga, sindio? Through prayer, God was able to guide him on the next step, which was ask for permission from the king. Because when the king gave permission, he gave also resources, if you read. Okay? And then, being able to assess the situation yourself. Akunanga remote. I know we try to do a lot of things. You can order things online. You can do stuff. But the reality is when you have a crisis or a situation, seeing for yourself is different from being told, isn't it? And assessing for yourself. So there's an issue called stakeholder engagement. So when you read the book of Nehemiah and you read the book of Ezra and other books that mention them, you find that he rallied people. He didn't build that wall himself, did he? The resources did not come. The resources, some of them came from Judea, others came from Persia with him. He didn't drive those caravans himself, did he? There must have been people who caught the vision and were able to work with him. The other thing is there's an issue of delegation. Sometimes when we have crisis, tunakimbia kubeba vitu peke yetu. You know, you get tired, isn't it? Share. And being able to share these responsibilities. And then when they had internal conflict, he was able to do it. And I'll share this. When the PowerPoint is coming, I'll share the notes. Then you have to be able to respond to what is coming externally. We talked about external values and internal, isn't it? Because we live in a society. Not everyone will want good for you. So they faced ridicule, threats, and sabotage from the people around Judea. So you have builders. If you read Nehemiah, they worked with one hand. Can you imagine unajenga kosia wall? I don't know how many of you have ever been to a mjengo site. Unaekelea mawe, unapaka simiti, umeshika travel with one hand and a shield and spear with the other hand. That's what the Bible says. And that's what it means in your life. That at some point, remember you're told to be as gentle as doves but as wise as snakes. Unajuanga hizo? Smart as snakes, something as snakes. Yes, it is, isn't it? So now the question would be, you're making me doubt myself. Unani gaslight wewe. So the question would be, they will come into situations that will require you to have dual roles. And they'll look like they're conflicting, isn't it? You're trying to do something, but you're facing opposition and you have to push that opposition. Doesn't mean you become passive. You can't lie down and die. Sindio? Siwamke ujitete. Sindio? With smartness. And then you have to establish, we talked about communication, isn't it? Being one of the key things you need to drive yourself. But what we didn't discuss about is a defense system. Situations in life call for you to have a defense system. The people closest to you, your own friends and family, are the people who may sabotage or hurt you the most or create crisis in your life. Boundaries are a defense system. And boundaries are not meant for other people, they are meant for yourself. So that you know this person cannot go beyond here. Could be a sibling, could be a parent. You honor, but you have boundaries. So those things you have to build for yourself. And then ethical leadership and integrity is something he showed. How did he show it? He refused to exploit his situation for personal gain. He could have become the governor, isn't it? He was actually asked. He said, no, narudi tu kazi ya to be a cupbearer. And then when you read the book, he was faced with corruption. Alikuwa anaambiwa, wacha tukulipe, hii wall isije, na msifanye hii kazi. Isn't that what happens in our society? Isn't it? Many of you are asked to do projects in your communities as a part of SLDP, isn't it? So if you don't collaborate and engage your stakeholders in those communities, and if you're not ethical, are you going to finish those projects well? Are they going to be sustainable? So there you go. Then resilience and completion. It's not enough to start something, you have to finish it. We talked about, saa zingine blanketi na kuanga tamu kuliko kuamka kuso. So you do what needs to be done at the right time and how it needs to be done. And how Nehemiah is, the wall was completed in 52 days. And there was a revival and convention. So vision matters. Prayer is strategic. Opposition is inevitable. Integrity will sustain you. Revival, or God does honor the work of your hands. And when you stand firm, and you'll be successful. So allow me to stop there and say asanteni sana for giving me your time. May God bless you.
I like how